you. It's a very good afternoon, and we are now meeting here to discuss on the subject of technology and law, journey through COVID-19 times. And we have the esteemed panelists here, the Honorable Justice Debangsu Basak, who is the sitting judge of Calcutta High Court, the learned Advocate General of Government of West Bengal, Sri Kishore Datta, the Chairman, Calcutta Port Trust, Sri Vinit Kumar, and Mr. Rajendra Misra, the in-house counsel and the executive member of the Taj Group of Hotels. Let me introduce myself first. I am Abhijit Chakrabarti. I am the Chief Law Officer in the Calcutta Port Trust, now renamed as Syama Prasad Mookerjee Port. And I am welcoming all the esteemed panelists here to discuss on the subject. I am introducing Honorable Justice Debangsu Basak. Justice Basak, who enrolled as an advocate in the year 1991 and practiced for 21 years, principally in Calcutta High Court, before the Company Law Board, Kolkata bench, and as well as principal bench at New Delhi, and also before the Board of Industrial and Financial Reconstruction and Debts Recovery Tribunal. And she has been elevated to the bench of the High Court at Calcutta in the year 2013, and also appointed as permanent judge of Calcutta High Court on 14th March 2016. Learned Advocate General Mr. Kishore Datta, who was also enrolled in the year 1991, and thereafter she practiced in Calcutta High Court principally, and she was designated as a senior advocate, and since last 3 years she is the Learned Advocate General of Government of West Bengal, a fantastic lawyer in Calcutta High Court. We have with us the Chairman of Syama Prasad Mookerjee Port, Sri Vinit Kumar, who is an IRSEE officer of 1993 batch. He has very wide experience in operation, maintenance, infrastructure development, and general administration. She took charge as chairman of Kolkata Port Trust in 2017. Earlier, Mr. Kumar was the chief electrical engineer in Mumbai Railway Vikas Corporation, and also was looking after the World Bank funded by MUTP project. She held administrative post of secretary at Central Railway and gained multi-dimensional experience in general administration. We will hear from Mr. Chairman regarding his experience from the client perspective while leading the Calcutta Port Trust. We have also with us Mr. Rajendra Misra. He is the Executive Vice President and General Counsel of the Indian Hotels Company Limited and the Director of the Board of Taj Hotels and Resorts. He is a member of IHCL Executive Committee. She also enrolled as an advocate in the year 1991, and she initially practiced in Calcutta High Court, and thereafter he joined in several private sector enterprises as their in-house counsel, and we will hear from him regarding his experience and thoughts over the technology and law during this period. And now I will invite Honorable Justice Debangsu Basak to share his thoughts, experience, and with some anecdotes, if His Lordship likes to share with us regarding the technology and law during these COVID-19 times. Over to Honorable Justice Basak.
Thank you, Mr. Chakrabarti. And with your kind permission, I'll continue with your introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, the esteemed panelists here and the attendees. Now, so far as the introduction is concerned, I'm sure we will be not doing justice to ourselves by not identifying 4 of us of this panelist from the same batch, belonging to the Hazara Law College, Calcutta University, same batch, right? And a step further, there are 5 sitting judges of the Calcutta High Court of the same batch with the Learned Advocate General also. And if we need to take it slightly more further, then we have 5 more judicial officers in the West Bengal High Judicial Service from the same batch, and a designated senior advocate in the practicing in the Calcutta High Court from the same batch. So that's about our batch. Anyways, coming back to the topic, India considers access to justice as a fundamental right. In fact, it's also a human right. Rule of law is a basic fabric of the society. Access to justice is something which is fundamental to a rule of law. This pandemic, before the pandemic, we had the traditional physical courts where where a litigant approached the court sat at a designated place, a courthouse, a designated courthouse, where justice was sought to be dispensed. Now, the pandemic put a stop to this physical courts in the sense that the pandemic required medically social distancing to be maintained. Maintaining the social distancing meant that the physical filing, the physical presence of the advocates became something which was not medically permitted. Therefore, the courts also had to rely upon technology to get over this impasse. Technology is a great enabler. It has allowed judiciary. When I speak about courts, I speak about the entire judiciary. It has allowed the entire judiciary to transgress, or in fact, I'll put it this way, it liberated the courts from the physical courts itself. Today, we are in a position as courts or judges to dispense justice to a person who is sitting at his home through and having access to justice through technology. One of the ideas or one of the ideals that we strive as a judiciary is to bring justice to the doorstep of a person needing justice. This pandemic allowed technology to enable the courts to do just exactly that. Today, courts can dispense justice through the virtual mode. A person, a litigant who requires to access court can access court, by not coming to the court directly physically, but accessing justice through the virtual mode. Now, there are, of course, there are certain challenges in doing so. Technology being as such, and all of us, including myself, not being so very suave in this field, there are in fact certain struggles and challenges, which surely every one of us in our own humble way are struggling and we are trying to overcome. So far courts are concerned, there was issue of e-filing, whether the documents or the pleadings that were required to be filed before a court to lodge the complaint, so to speak in the layman's term, whether it should be done physically or through the electronic mode. And there are challenges and struggles on that aspect also. Calcutta High Court allowed e-filing of certain matters. There is now a notification of the Calcutta High Court where the Case Information System 1.0 is being introduced with effect from 1st of September 2020. Certain districts I know of allowed e-filing of pleadings. In particular, I'm in charge of Paschim Medinipur district, where even civil matters such as claims were also allowed to be filed in the electronic mode, and orders passed on injunction petitions through the virtual mode. The courts generally, by and large, both the high courts and the district courts have tried to reach out to the litigants so as to dispense as much justice as possible. Of course, there are challenges. Of course, the quantum that is required of us to attend to, maybe we are not in a position to do that. Maybe there are hindrances in the way of the litigants approaching the courts. But over a period of time, surely we will be able to meet those challenges also. Now, last Saturday, perhaps, if I'm not wrong, a Lok Adalat was, in fact, it was held on 22nd of August 2020. A Lok Adalat in the virtual mode was held by the Calcutta High Court. There, about 60 matters were disposed of in the Lok Adalat. That is another aspect where the alternative dispute resolution mechanism is put in place, where justice has been dispensed to the litigants. Arbitration, if you look at arbitration as an alternative method of dispute resolution, arbitration can continue in this pandemic through this technology. Technology has enabled the judiciary to function, but in the virtual mode. But whether virtual mode is the only solution, or we should go back to the physical form, or there should be a hybrid of it, time will tell. We are still working on it. It's a work in progress. Maybe the entirety of the matters cannot be dealt with in the virtual mode. Calcutta High Court, for instance, has a original side. Now, in the original side, in an original civil suit, there is an issue of leading evidence where witnesses come, witness in the form of a witness action. If a natural person comes as a witness, there the examination in chief, the issue of cross-examination is there. Then the demeanor of a witness, which a court gets to look at while hearing the witness action, assessing the value of the witness statement. And this the technology may not be, what should I say, may not be up to the mark at this point of time for that aspect also. Or we may devise something, of course, we can devise something to get over that problem maybe. But as it stands today, matters in the civil, in the original side where witness action is required, whether virtual court is an answer or not is highly debatable. Then, so far as technology is concerned, there are limitations to it also. Limitation in the sense of the equipment available to every stakeholder in the judicial process. By this, I mean that not only the courts or the judges must be equipped with the requisite quantum of manpower, of hardware, software, but the same facility should be extended to, or at least a similar facility should be available at the disposal of an advocate appearing in court, or even the staff members who are assisting the court, or a litigant. So all of this must come together for all stakeholders to take the benefit of the technology and use it to its maximum. Over a period of time, surely we will be in a position to get over the challenges that we are facing in dispensing justice. But overall, I can say that the pandemic in its manifestations have not stopped us in discharging our duties, and it's thankfully that all the stakeholders in the judicial process have come together to bring about a situation where access to justice is not being denied. With these words, I conclude my opening speech. Maybe I'll hand it over to Mr. Chakrabarti.
Thank you so much, Mr. Justice Debangsu Ashash. And but His Lordship has said that regarding justice at the doorsteps of the litigant at this time through virtual mode, it's a very I think this observation is very acceptable. May I request Mr. Kishore Datta, the Learned Advocate General of Government of West Bengal, to share his experiences and his thoughts during this period when the virtual mode is the only mode for litigations. And also, we would like to hear from Learned Advocate General regarding the in-house, how the in-house legal teams are now working through technological mode during this period, because he is the leader of the law officers, and he is the highest office of the highest legal office of the state of West Bengal. How he has experienced and what is his observation and what is his thought, may kindly share with us.
Thank you, Mr. Chakrabarti. Very good evening to the panelists and all the attendees. Now, I would also like to thank Lex Witness for providing me this opportunity to share my views on this topic. Now, today's topic is that technology and law journey through COVID-19 times. Now, speaking of technology, we should go back a bit insofar as the judiciary is concerned. It's definitely true that this pandemic or the COVID-19 has made us accustomed and attuned to these technological tools that we have now. But I think the technological support had been taken recourse to by the judiciary for quite some time. For example, right now what comes to my mind is judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court in 2011, where the Supreme Court, of course, speaking for the judiciary, said that the judges must be computer literate and must have the basic training in computers. Now, this is almost 9 years back when the Supreme Court made this observation in a judgment, a reported decision. So, at least from 2009-10 onwards, we find that the judiciary has adopted this technology or computerization for its day-to-day functioning and discharge of its judicial functions. Now, so far as technology is concerned, as an advocate, there are certain things that the benefit of which we are availing for quite some time. Now, we, the three of the panelists and the moderator, we are all born in the mid-60s. We did not have the benefit of computerizations during our basic education in school. Now, our education in computer or our literacy in computer started after we had entered into practice or in our respective jobs, whatever it may be. And our training, I believe, was a self-training, not trained through some academy or from school or whatever. So I would say that we people of the mid-60s or a bit thereafter, say early 70s, we have learned computer through our own resources and through our from our home without any academic qualification I mean added to that. The second thing is, after we have entered the profession, and when the first, if all of us recollect, when we started our practice, the petitions, plaints, etc., the pleadings used to be typed out in the I do not know those conventional typewriters. Then we found that electronic typewriters came, and gradually it was replaced by computer. Then, of course, in the meantime, photocopy machines were also introduced. Now, gradually, technology creeped into the judicial process. First through the lawyer's chamber, and I found that later on the judiciary adopted that. For example, like we have our Calcutta High Court website, or the entire High Court, all the High Courts and the Supreme Courts, and now, of course, even the district courts, they have their websites where we get the orders within a few hours every day. So this is how the technology had been applied by the judiciary, starting from the lawyer's chamber to the judges dispensing justice. This has gradually come in. This is one part. The next part is, so far as we advocates are concerned, now when I or most of us entered profession, we had to spend most of our savings in getting books or buying books. Now that has been gradually replaced by the softwares. Now that we have the softwares where we have our, say, SCC Online or say AIR, now instead of having this big libraries, because as you know, the books consume a lot of space. Now to have a good library, you must have a very big house or a very big chamber. Now that again, there again, the technology has stepped in, where the space requirement has reduced to a lot for keeping us updated or having the tools or weapons of to practice or to argue matters in court. And similarly with the honorable judges as well, they can very well have their laptops on their desks and table and may look into the judgments when we cite these judgments instead of carrying books, heavy books to the court. Now this is another aspect or another advancement that had that the judiciary availed through the technology. Now comes the most important and the most difficult phase in all of our life, that is this pandemic. Now, Justice Basak was pleased to observe that today pandemic has enabled the judiciary to deliver justice at the doorstep. I would take it a bit further, possibly in the bedroom also. Because today, any litigant, if he wants to argue a matter, he can argue from wherever he is. Now, for us lawyers, the benefit that we have achieved is or received is, like I can sit in my chamber, argue a matter in Supreme Court. On the same table, I can argue a matter in Allahabad High Court and also in the Calcutta High Court. So today, because of this technological advancement and software technology, we can argue simultaneously in various courts, at even like tribunals also we can argue today from the same place. So pandemic with all its adverse effect has benefited the judiciary to a large extent. Now the question is, as Justice Basak has also hinted, that what do we do tomorrow? How do we avail of this technology tomorrow? Question is whether this virtual functioning of the courts would remain and should remain. Speaking from my point of view, I would definitely want this virtual platform to remain, because it has benefited us tremendously. there is a great advancement in the judicial system, and more particularly, I would like to say that the mental block or the frame of mind has changed a lot. Very senior advocates who were very computer shy have finally taken recourse to or adopted or got adapted to this system, and I find very senior advocates are also arguing before the court in the online or the virtual mode, which again is benefiting the judiciary as well as the litigant public, because unless we get the knowledge, expertise of the senior advocates, then the judiciary will not thrive. So again, this is another aspect which I feel has also benefited the judiciary, because juniors are very what should I say? They are accustomed to this computerization, software, information technology, etc. But seniors were very shy. Now today I find that the seniors have also adapted themselves to those. So according to me, the technology or information technology, if I may put it in this way, has by and large has benefited the judiciary. Now coming to what the moderator wants me to highlight is that being one of the law officers of the state, now how is the state utilizing this technology? Now in the pandemic situation, I find that the state government departments have already started e-files, or those big fat dusty files are gradually dissipating. Now when matters come to me for opinion, they come in the soft mode through emails. I provide my inputs and observations and opinions through emails, and those are applied thereby. So in the departments also, I have found that they are availing of the advancement of information technology, and things are really moving fast, because nowadays we don't hear people saying, oh, well, now it's 5 o'clock, no more work for today, or no, I've come back home, I can't open the file is lying in my office. We find everybody accessing the files from their home anytime, morning, evening, late night, to assist us in providing inputs or whatever questions we ask. Now, I find that the State Department at least has become accustomed to availing the technology in the matter of discharging their administrative and executive functions. The other part is, so far as the state government is concerned, state government has a filing section, which is in short, it is called SARTHAC, S-A-R-T-H-A-C, systematic something, it's a very big name, which is operated by the state of West Bengal, where the writ petitions in the appellate side of the High Court are all filed. And the moment it is filed, they have got a scanning machine which immediately scans the entire petition, not page by page. Something, I think it has a machine where the entire petition is put and all the pages get scanned, and then it is delivered through email to the respective advocates who are appointed for arguing this matter, the respective matters for the state, and thereafter instructions follow through this process. And SARTHAC in Bengali, as it means, is really a SARTHAC, and it is, I'm told that it has been named as the best filing software or whatever it is, or a platform in the country. Now, these are the three primary modes in which I believe the technology have helped the legal system or the judiciary in its activities. And so far as we lawyers are concerned, I would definitely not be doing justice to the fraternity if I do not admit that this has also benefited us in very many ways, one of which I have already highlighted, that we now do not require so much space for books and other things. We don't have to carry those heavy fat books to our courts for arguing the matters. We can have photocopies from the softwares and take it to the court for arguing matters. Now, these are the very many ways in which technology have helped law. And before concluding, may I only say one thing? I had a client who used to lose in every matter and come out of the court and tell me in Bengali, যে কিশোর বাবু সব খারাপের মধ্যে কিছু ভালো আছে, which means that in every bad thing there is something good. So I think this is the good that we got in pandemic, that we have all become accustomed to technology, and which has helped the judiciary. Today it is helping, and I believe it will go a long way in the discharge of judicial functions in future. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Datta. Mr. Datta has depicted beautifully the evolution of technology, and which has been adopted by the courts. And I can say one thing, that the court has adopted the technology. It is my experience regarding the avoidance of the crowd also before the pandemic situation. Initially, the technology, there was no technology. We have to wait for the cause list in the morning and to take the list, and we have to rush to the court. We have to wait when our matter will be called, and there was a very big crowd in all the courtrooms, and gradually the crowd could have been avoided through the technology. The numbers are being shown in out of the courtroom, outside of the courtroom. So this technology was already adopted by the court in earlier time. The physical crowd was avoided. Now I will request Mr. Chairman Sir of Syama Prasad Mookerjee Port, the Kolkata Port Trust, to share with his experience and thoughts in respect of the technology, and as a from the client's perspective on the litigations, and also in respect of the in-house legal opinion, legal systems with us, sir.
Thank you, Abhijit. Honorable Justice Basak, AG Mr. Datta, Mr. Misra, BP IHCL, Abhijit, Chief Law Officer, Calcutta Port Trust, esteemed guests who are connected with this webinar. At the outset, let me thank Witness for giving me this opportunity. While all of you probably are from the law background, I am the one who is not from the law background. So, but of course, I can connect and I can understand, as Justice Basak said in the beginning, that it is the fundamental right. Justice is the fundamental right of every citizen in the country. And I would say, we are named this. While I was reading this, I saw technology and law. I thought it should be otherwise law and technology, because law is a much bigger concept. Technology is just an enabler. Now, sir, before I give my perspective onto and my thoughts about the topic, that is law and technology, I would just give a brief about the Calcutta Port Trust, very briefly, as to to give a context as to what the organization is from and from what background I am discussing this today. See, Calcutta Port Trust is the oldest port of the country, oldest major port of the country, out of the 12 major ports which are in India. And this is our 150th year, and we had the good fortune of hosting our Honorable Prime Minister to mark this celebration in Calcutta in January. And we are gateway to the entire Eastern India, not only to the Indian states, but also to our neighboring countries like Nepal, Bhutan, and also very closely connected with Bangladesh. We got two port systems. One is in Calcutta, which is the older port, and another court is in Haldia, which came up around 45 years ago. So both these put together, we rank as the 5th port in the country, and our volumes around 64 million tons last year we did, which is the highest ever volume which we have done, and our revenues are to the tune of 2,500 crores. Primarily in Calcutta, being a city, we handle the containers, but in Haldia, we handle all the bulk cargo because we are close to the steel belt. We handle coal, we handle iron ore, all kind of stuff, a lot of chemicals, LPG, which is now, which is growing at a very fast pace. So we are a growing port. We have a capital expenditure of capex plan of around 1,000 crores as of now going, wherein we are adding jetties, we are adding berths, we are evacuation system of rail, road, everywhere we are investing. So all that is going on now. Suddenly this COVID thing struck, and it was a challenge for us also as to how to run the work. There was a dictate on one side that everybody should be should be indoors, nobody should come out. But on the other hand, we have to keep the port running, because all essential things like be it petrol, be it the cooking gas, LPG, or be it the vegetable oil, which dhara or whatever which we cook, everything comes via the ports. So we had the challenge of running it. As of now, I can tell you, as on date, we have around 360 employees. We have been struck with COVID, and we had got 2 unfortunate deaths also. But somehow we have been able to manage the show, because we have our own hospital, and I must thank my doctors and everybody who made it possible for us to run it. And and all these 360 patients, most of them, I think more than 350, we have all treated them in house, and we made strict protocols as regards masks, sanitizers, and all social distancing norms. Everything we have been following. Then we had, as each organization has reoriented itself to work in these times, we also took a lot of initiatives. We immediately implemented e-office. While we are implementing a very big ERP program in both the ports, Calcutta and Haldia, it's costing around 120 crores, but the entire system will be on a platform. But we immediately implemented e-office, and the entire process in the ports also, because a lot of people come to the port to submit documents and all that. So the entire export procedure, we immediately got hold of National Informatics Center, NIC, and then we could do it in a month's time. The entire export process we have converted. Import we are trying, maybe in a couple of weeks time we'll be able to do that. Another aspect now coming to as to how we are connected to the law and the legal side is the Calcutta Port Trust holds around 4,500 acres of land in and around Calcutta. Out of this, around 3,000 is in Calcutta itself, and I think Abhijit will have right numbers. To my estimate, we have more than 1,500 litigations all across various courts in Calcutta and in and around the area, including Supreme Court. And I must thank the judiciary also, because of the support. We in the last 2 years we have been able to get back our at least 40 acres of very prime land in and around Calcutta, which has been stuck for years together. Now, as this COVID struck, I must say that the speed with which the Indian judicial system responded, 24th, I understand the lockdown was announced, and 25th there was an announcement from Supreme Court that the courts will be functioning through this distant method of using these platforms. And 25th onwards it started, and I must say that immediately the entire ecosystem of judiciary, whether it is the honorable judges, senior lawyers, counsels, all staff, maybe in few days time everything was worked out, and the entire ecosystem has risen to give justice to the people, and the cases started listing, and dealing has started. So the entire ecosystem started very immediately. E-affidavits, I am told that has also started. So all these things were done, and with a very great speed. So this shows the, the kind of work, in fact, all government departments, I must say, that have come out very, they have met the expectations of people during this time. And I must say that courts have also done exceedingly well to help clients like us in this situation. I would just like to tell that in one of our case which came up in Supreme Court during this crisis, I got a call around around 10 o'clock in the night from our lawyer in Delhi, and he said that tomorrow 8:30 there is a conference with very senior lawyer in Supreme Court, very senior counsel in Supreme Court, and next day morning 8:30, as Dr. Datta said, it has started. Mr. Datta said it has started. It has entered into our bedroom. Early morning 8:30, I was having this conference with our Supreme Court counsel, and I could put across my views very clearly to him as to what is our perspective in the case, and it was a very prestigious case for us. The point is that had this virtual platform not been there, I probably, as chairman, would not have had the opportunity to interact and present my views. So this system is giving an opportunity. Probably, otherwise, normally it would happen that if there is a case, I would discuss with our chief law officer or deputy law officer, and one of them will go to Delhi, discuss with our counsels there, and they will take up the matter further. But in this case, now because of this system, probably we could have done it earlier also, but we never did it. Now I could talk, and after that, I think we have twice or thrice on 2-3 cases I had very close discussions with them. So it sort of gives an opportunity to all of us to closely connect, present our views very clearly. So as a client, I find this a great opportunity for me. Our entire office system within the port also immediately adapted to this. Our officers, they started using computers, internet, work from home was started, and it gives us a lot of flexibility. To be very frank, what we need to do in most of the things, like for a hearing, what you need is nothing much. It's if you have a smartphone, you can do it. So it's as simple as that. Of course, there can be much complex things which will also come by as the time passes by. But frankly, if you have a smartphone, you can do all this. You can do these hearings, and so this has given a lot of flexibility to the entire system, which we hope that will continue in the future also. Another aspect is economics. Let's take the example of this webinar. Normally, had it been pre-COVID, this webinar would have been held either in some hotel or in some banquet or some conference hall, and all of us would have traveled there, had spent time and money on going there, or somebody must have flown from Delhi or Bombay and then coming together, staying in hotels and all that. While today we are sitting probably in our homes or offices and discussing this, so it saves a lot of money. So that economy part is also there. So economics as such. So all these three things: the opportunity, the flexibility, and economy is what it has given us. While I'm not from this field, but yes, I will certainly like to say that there are new technologies coming, like blockchain technology, wherein it is a very secure platform where the entire series is very secure. So this can be further utilized for maybe hearing, for submission of documents, for so many other things. Most of the payments, probably, court fees, etc., which is there. Now I'm speaking as a user. How far it will be practical, I do not know. I'm just making some suggestions that a lot of payments which are to be made or court fees are to be paid. We can go on an electronic platform and enable those payments. I also see that it is equally important for us, while we are probably the privileged ones, we who have our phones or we are in the city. A lot of people in the villages and at smaller places, remote places, for them getting justice is a costly affair. Now, if something like this can be worked out, that some kind of center in each village or in each district where people can attend through video conference, a lot of money of the clients will be saved, or these poor people will be saved who have to travel all the way to come to the courts. And maybe it is not possible that always it can be done, but maybe out of at certain times it can be held like that. I feel that probably National Informatics Center or government of India enterprises like these have that kind of infrastructure already in place. So some kind of synergy can be brought in, so that distant court can be there, and it will save a lot of money to our to the people who are looking for justice. One idea, because Justice Basak is there, I'll take the opportunity of his presence. Sir, as of now, with COVID, a lot of disputes are coming in. A lot of commercial disputes are coming in because everybody is having different kind of situations. Somebody, a lot of problems are coming in. Somebody has his go down in the containment zone. He cannot lift these stuff from somewhere. So a lot of commercial disputes are coming because of these are tough times for the industry and all business. So conciliation, sir, will be a very good mechanism to resolve these disputes and amicably, and probably this is the right time that something is taken forward in that direction also. It will help us and the entire industry very much. I hope and expect that, sir, these learnings which we have during this period will continue and help us in making a better and a stronger system, better system in the future of delivery of justice to one and all, at a as you said, at their doorsteps. That is probably something which this pandemic has given us, which I think we all should take forward and take advantage of this. I thank Witness for giving this opportunity, and I thank all the audience for giving a very patient hearing to me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. And I think the views from the chairman of the Syama Mookerjee port, from the head of the public authority, has been properly being placed. And one thing I will add with the chairman, sir, regarding the gratefulness to the judiciary, that in January 2020, there was a dedicated bench for dealing with the public premises matters. It also started to help us because we have great litigation. Most of the litigations are concerning to the public premises. So, but thereafter, since March 2020, the lockdown has been started and the virtual court has taken place, and the dedicated bench could not work. But it was really a very good thing, and we are grateful to the judiciary. Now, may I request Mr. Rajendra Misra to place his views and thoughts from the perspective that he is the leader in a private sector and a leader of the legal team in the private sector, and what he thinks and what his experience and what is his thought over the subject of the discussion, direct technology and law. Over to Rajan.
Thank you, Abhijit. And thank you, Next Witness, for organizing this webinar for all of us. Thank you, Akshay. Thank you, Nilima. I am quite fascinated by this panel of which I am a part. quite apart from the fact that what Justice Basak alluded to and the learned AG also mentioned, that 4 of us are from the same batch of the law college. Of course, that is fascinating, yes. But other than that, you know, I'm fascinated by the fact that we are listening to a sitting judge of the High Court and the views of the bench on the subject of technology and law and how technology has been an enabler during these trying times. At the same time, we are listening to the views of the topmost law officer of the state on the same subject. I am heading the legal department of a public limited company, and therefore the perspective from that angle. And of course, Abhijit, who is heading the legal department of a public sector enterprise, the Calcutta Port Trust. And along with us, of course, the chairman of the Calcutta Port Trust, and a view coming in regarding how the client, he represents people to whom people like Abhijit would be the service providers. So as an internal client, what has been his experience? So it's a very fascinating panel with different viewpoints coming from different perspectives. So well done, Lex Witness, on that one. Let me begin by saying that this pandemic is nothing like what we have ever seen and nothing like what we will ever see probably in our lifetimes. I am at least hoping that. And I dare say that it is also nothing like what our previous generation may have seen during their lifetimes. So it is an extraordinary situation which has come about. And life as we knew before the pandemic struck came to a standstill with this pandemic having fallen on the human race. And this is not just in the country, not just in the city, but across the world, across continents. Life is no longer the same. Life has become different. Life has become difficult. Life has come to a standstill. And that is where technology, I believe, has played a beautiful part. The learned AG mentioned that his client, whenever he would lose a matter, would say that in everything bad, there is something which is good. And people do say that, you know, whenever you have a bad experience in life, look for what you can learn from that, because that will then help you in the future. I think technology is that one bit which has been the silver lining in enabling us to continue to live life at least in somewhat a normal way. May not be absolutely normal, but in somewhat a normal way. And if you go beyond the legal world only and generally the world around, that is how it has been. Technology has enabled people. I mean, somebody like me, if you know I had to get stuff for home, it would be to call up the grocer and get stuff home. But for the first time in my life, I have used apps to order stuff for home. And I'm sure that millions of people like me have done the same thing. So technology has been an enabler in many of the things that we have been doing in our life so that we can lead at least a semi-normal life. And that is not different for the legal world as well. I dare say that I think the legal world traditionally has been a slow adapter to technology. The reasons are not far to look at. I think, you know, we as lawyers, as the legal world, as court, as in-house legal departments handle a lot of paper. There are a lot of nuances, and like Justice Basak said, that when there is a witness, you know, you may need to look at the demeanor of the witness, the expressions of a witness, the hesitation if a witness is having in answering a question, etc., etc. And And all of that together and many more things probably have led to a situation where I think the legal world generally, and not necessarily the court, not necessarily the lawyers only, not necessarily in-house legal department, but the whole ecosystem has been a bit slow in adapting technology to technology. I have spent nearly 3 decades in the commercial world as an in-house legal counsel. And I have seen commercial enterprises over the years leveraging technology. And I feel that it is really the silver lining today that maybe because of a pandemic, but still technology has been thrust down upon us. And look at in what beautiful way the legal world has adapted to technology. Just as Basak mentioned in the beginning about the fundamental rights of individuals, about the legal rights, Mr. Datta also mentioned to that, he alluded to that. And I think technology has played a role in enabling people to still avail of their fundamental rights, still approach courts whenever the fundamental rights have been assailed, and in order to take the protection. And the entire ecosystem has beautifully utilized this technology, though in a very short span of time, beautifully utilized the technology to ensure that at least in those cases where there were urgencies, things were handled and adequate protection was provided. Of course, it is not the normal situation. Of course, it is not something which was, which could even be 100% normalcy. But in these challenging times, the best that could have been possible has been done with the leveraging of technology. I was looking through some numbers, and these numbers are a bit dated, but I think the law minister mentioned sometimes during June, July, that the Supreme Court itself had heard nearly 7,800 matters which were urgent. High courts across the country had heard about 1.7 lakh cases, and subordinate courts across the country about 7.5 lakh cases, which were urgent. To think about the fact that transportation was not available, local transportation was not available, attending courts was challenging. I think those numbers speak volumes about how the legal world has used technology in order to give justice to those, in order to dispense justice to those who deserved. And I'm sure that over a span of the last couple of months, these numbers have grown. Speaking of the in-house legal department, as I said, life came to a standstill for us around the 4th week of March, where suddenly, first we went into a Janta curfew, and then we went into a complete lockdown mode. And suddenly we found ourselves sitting at home and trying to make sense of how to do business, how to carry on our regular work from the homes. And that is when we leveraged technology. For example, how did we meet up? There was this software called MS Teams, which was sitting there in the MS Office suite that we all had on our laptops and on our systems. But till date, we had never utilized them. And this pandemic taught us the benefit of utilizing MS Teams, something similar to Zoom or WebEx. It was right there sitting in our system. We did not know, and we had never leveraged it in our lifetimes. But then from the last week of March onwards till today, I think we made a great use of that. Look at this webinar which is happening on the Zoom platform. Who could have imagined that we could have something as this, with attendance from people across the country, listening to such an erudite panel of which I am also fortunate to be a part? How could that even have been dreamt about before this pandemic. So there was some technology which was available, and that has been beautifully leveraged, I should say. How did we leverage technology specifically? I think we were one of the early adapters and adopters of technology, if I may say. About 5 years back, we started adopting technology in the legal department of Indian Hotels. We started deploying contract management softwares where we could upload full contracts and we could track those contracts in terms of their basic nuances, in terms of their important salient features, in respect of their renewal dates, expiry dates, etc., etc. And not just that, have the full contract uploaded onto the system. We started adopting intellectual property management software where the entire portfolio of the trademarks of the company resided. We started doing other things, for example, litigation. We had another software where the entire litigation of the company went on to the platform, which enabled us to access these during these challenging times of the COVID. We are in the hospitality space specifically, and it is not an unknown thing that hospitality industry and the aviation industry have been at the forefront of bearing the brunt of this pandemic. Things have literally come to a standstill, and these industries have been getting a lot of beating because obviously there is no movement. People are not traveling. Travel had come to a standstill. Hotels had been shut down except for some very bare skeletal service to provide accommodation to either stranded people or people who were belonging to the medical profession and were COVID warriors. So except for that bare skeletal thing, the entire the hospitality space had kind of come to a grinding halt. And at that point of time, it was important for us to go back to basics, go back to our cost structures and start reviewing everything to say that where is it that I need to spend my money? Where is it that I need to cut down on my expenditure? Because on the one hand, revenue was not coming, but on the other hand, there were expenditures. And we really went down into, and this is not just for the legal team, but also for all the various departments of the company. They went down into the bare basics to see that where can they cut down expenditure and cut it down drastically because our earnings had stopped. I think I can proudly say that from the legal team, what we did was that as a contribution to the organization, what we did was that we analyzed each of our leases, and we had some really heavy leases. Leases in respect of some of our hotels where we paid a lot of money to the owners, which were a share of the revenue, and revenue obviously had stopped. But then, the liability under the lease would remain either in terms of some basic slab, wherever there was a share of the revenue, or the fixed rental itself. And in all those cases, we went into the leases to check whether we had recourse to force majeure clauses under which we could excuse ourselves from payment of rental. And we located those clauses, we located those leases where we could actually make those kind of savings. We went with the concept that in these trying times, every penny saved was penny earned for the organization. And therefore, we analyzed each of these contracts. And how did we have access to the contracts? Because we were sitting at home, the files were not with us. It was only because 4 years, 5 years back, we had deployed this contract management software where all our contracts were uploaded. that we were able to access full contracts and look through them, identify, analyze those contracts, and then devise a strategy where we could avail of the force majeure waivers. So I think that was one of the greatest things by which one of the greatest, what should I say, areas where we leveraged technology, and technology really came to our help in, if I may say, earning money for the company by saving money for the company. But it was not always something as big as that. And technology really came to us and to our help in small manners as well. I don't think we have used during these times a WhatsApp as much as we have used earlier to its fullest potential. For example, one after another at this point of time during the pandemic, there were notifications which were coming. You know, you had the central government notifications coming, you had state government notifications coming, you had district level clarifications and circulars coming. How did we keep track of that? I think the technology of WhatsApp came to our rescue, where in the WhatsApp groups of the corporate council and the general council, we began to collaborate in terms of whoever got to know of a development would just pull that in, and that would then become shared knowledge amongst the general council across the country. So if I knew, for example, that the state of Maharashtra has passed a notification, the moment I could lay my hands on that notification, I would upload it into the group. Similarly, somebody sitting in Kolkata, if he came across a notification, a clarification issued by the state government, again, that would get uploaded into the group. So my point is that even simple technology like WhatsApp really came to our rescue, because we were really then at that point of time grappling with uncertainty. And really, you know, the term VUCA came into mind when you thought of that, because the situation was volatile, there was uncertainty, there was complexity, and there was ambiguity all around. But I think with this collaboration over such a simple medium as WhatsApp helped us to learn from each other, helped us to collectively get hold of knowledge, and then to disseminate that and then act in accordance with that. So that was how we used some simple technology like WhatsApp also to our benefit. I must say that coming to the courts and to the virtual hearings, I think the way in which the judicial system has supported has been admirable. The way in which the bench and the bar have supported has also been quite admirable. I don't think I can recall of an instance during my lifetime at least, where I have sitting in Mumbai briefed a senior counsel sitting in Delhi. Leave alone in Delhi, I don't think that even in the same city, senior counsel have ever been comfortable with a situation where I may not be sitting in their chamber in front of them and discussing a matter. But I think in these COVID times, though it has been kind of a given situation and thrust upon us, but the use of technology has been marvelous, where sitting from Mumbai, I have been able to brief the topmost counsel sitting in Delhi, and in a manner where, and I think Mr. Vinit Kumar also mentioned that you know, you were really able to brief them, put across your points. The other thing, of course, has been in a lighter vein, that many of us have spent quite long hours in conferences, waiting for the conference to happen. But I think one of the things which technology has enabled is also on-time conferences, which has been a great benefit, which has also gone a long way. Of course, other than the legal world, I should say that in the commercial world, For example, the government has risen to the occasion, and board meetings over video conferences, etc., have happened a lot because people have not been able to meet. So we've had board meetings over video conferences, which enabled companies to continue in whatever best manner they could. The last thing which I wanted to mention was that it's important. Of course, carrying on work is important. Of course, it is important that commerce should happen. Of course, it is important that court hearing should happen. But I think the underlying theme of all of this is people. Connecting with people, connecting with your teams. And I think there again, technology has played a beautiful role. All of these times, for example, the Executive Management Committee of Indian Hotels, of which I'm a part, met every single day for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours to discuss, take stock of what is happening because the situation was so much volatile. Every day we connected over MS Teams, and every day that was also an opportunity for us to tell each other that we are there, because basically all of us were confined to our homes and you could not even step out of the house. So also with my own team, for example, that once in a while we connected over MS Teams. We discussed issues, of course, we discussed legal issues, but we also discussed about the well-being of each other. We also spent a bit of time cracking jokes so that there was some camaraderie, there was some coming together, even though in a virtual world. So I think overall technology has played a beautiful role. Of course, technology cannot be a full-time substitute. Like Justice Basak mentioned, can a virtual hearing actually replace physical hearing in courts? And I completely agree that that is not something which is possible. But I think this pandemic has given us some things of which we can make use of. I think had the pandemic not occurred, I dare say that we may not have been so openly adaptive to technology. But today, perforce, we have been able to, able to absorb and utilize technology. If and when the situation comes back to normal, and it will never be normal, but whatever is the next normal post the pandemic, whenever some semblance of normalcy gets restored, I think we should not let the benefit that technology has given us during this time fritter away. I think we should look at leveraging technology in the best possible manner that we can, utilize technology even in court hearings, in registration of documents, in running in-house departments, in running legal practice, etc., etc. See how best we can use. For example, I'm sure that evidence will be a problem, and therefore, where an original suit is being heard and evidence has to be considered, and witness demeanor has to be considered, like Justice Basak mentioned, technology may not be a replacement. But I think we need to think that, for example, in an interlocutory matter, can technology be utilized? Is it always necessary to have a physical hearing? In matters where, let's say matters for directions, listing, mentioning, and various things which are of that nature, requesting for a correction in an order, for example, amendment of pleadings, you don't really need a physical hearing probably. So I think as the entire legal ecosystem, if we look at those aspects and see where we could still leverage technology, I do believe that going forward, we will be able to reduce a lot of backlog and really reach technology also to people who might be in inaccessible areas. That's what I have to say, Abhijit. Perhaps a bit longish, but that's what I had to add.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rajan. And we are now at the end, and we are really thankful to all. But some questions are there from the audience also, and from me. Now we are from the Rajan's point of view. Can I say to all the panelists that now we are entering to a new normal situation? Not we are going back to the normal situation. We are going ahead, and the new normal, in the new normal situation, particularly in the judicial and legal system, and it also include the queries and the questions from the audience also, whether the virtual court will start the hearing of the old matters, and also whether the virtual court requires some new regulations to be framed, because sometimes it happens that the hearing was going on, and somebody says that she was not audible at that time of the hearing at a particular point of time, and the hearing was going on. Whether the new rules are required to be framed for this virtual hearing, and during this virtual hearing, whether the old cases are also to be heard of.
Yeah, from my end, I'll take that question. I'll divide it in two parts. Old matters. Calcutta High Court, before the pandemic, initiated process of digitization of old records. Now, virtual hearing of old matters can happen only if the files filed physically are available in the soft form. Or a hybrid situation can happen where the physical file is brought to the court or the judge concerned, and the hearing is held virtually. So these are the two options. Yes, it is possible, but manpower is one of the hindrances as on date. And basically, yes, it's possible. Technically, yes, it is possible. If you can do the new matters, why not the old matters? But there are certain challenges. We are working on it. Surely we'll come to that. We can attend to that also. And the other part is new rules. You would have noticed that since the inception of the pandemic till date, as the situation demanded, new rules were put in place. And I'll give you examples. Initially, e-filing was permitted, then a class of matters in e-form, while another class in the physical form. Things of those natures came into being, and it's as the situation is developing, we are modulating our own procedures. Those things, as we go forward and as the situation develops, we are attending to it. But yes, it's a new normal, that whatever we have understood to be the normal, let's say, of December 2019 is no longer available to us. So we'll have to modulate ourselves on that parameter. Yes, there are challenges. We are trying to overcome that. Yes.
Mr. Datta, will you?
So far as this question is concerned, I think Justice Basak has made it clear that with the change of situation, we are also changing our mode of functioning, and for that purpose, as you know, that the Chief Justice of the Calcutta High Court, at least I'm speaking for the Calcutta High Court, is the master of the roster as well as the functioning of the court. Now, as and when it was required, the Honorable the Chief Justice, maybe with the aid and assistance of some of the senior judges, have framed, I won't say rules, but certain procedural changes were made to suit the needs of the situation. And in this way, the court is functioning, number one. And number two, so far as old matters are concerned, I believe some preference is being given to the criminal appeals where the convicts are in jail. I think the High Court is also taking care of that situation, and possibly emphasis or importance or precedence would be given to criminal appeal in maybe from the next week or the week thereafter. So in this way, it's definitely possible that old matters can be taken up by the court. Because as I find in the new matters also, or the new filings also, most of the cases, in fact, maybe all, if not most, of the cases, the honorable judges are having the hard copies, as we call nowadays, of physical files before them. So if the files can be brought, old matters can definitely be heard, subject to time permitting, infrastructure permitting, logistic permitting. So old matters can definitely be heard. This is from my side.
So, Mr. Chairman, sir, can you give some suggestions with regard to the technology in the future for your suggestion on the legal field?
You are on mute, Mr. Kumar.
So Kumar, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, sorry.
Thank you so much.
See, there's a lot of technology which is coming up. Which blockchain is one such, and the technology which provides a very secure method of transmission of documents or even money. And there are now technologies are coming which can provide a virtual court kind of scenario also, wherein when you see in the screen you feel like everybody is there together. It's like it can be a virtual court or things like that. So technology is changing at a very fast pace, and I don't think that the problems which we are having today will be there for a very long time as regards a large number of documentation or authentication of certain things online. So there is a lot of technology coming in, but assimilation of technology and using it the way, and it will be important to put it in a framework so that can be utilized for various purposes for in the courts. So I think technology is there. Maybe we need to probably have it checked up with some other countries, or in India also now a lot of research is going on. We can tie up with some good IT company, and we can ask them to come up with solutions. So technology, I think there are a lot many options in technology, and maybe future is very bright. Thank you.
Abhijit, can I add to that?
Sure.
So I think there is a great scope for utilization of technology in the legal field, and particularly amongst in the court system, for example. Also that it has been used for some time, but may not have been used as extensively as perhaps it's been used during these times of the pandemic. For example, let us say the Supreme Court judgments are getting translated through machine learning into 9 different languages. And since November, I believe about 200 judgments have already been translated. Now that, for example, is something where technology can be used extensively. The Chief Justice of India, for example, is on record having said that machine learning can be utilized, artificial intelligence can be utilized in a much bigger manner in the judiciary, in looking at document management, in looking at cases which are of a repetitive nature, in looking at, let's say, witness-related issues, antecedents, etc., etc. So there is tremendous scope in utilizing that. When I was doing a bit of research on this subject, what I also did realize was the Indian courts have been using technology, and virtual hearings have been happening, for example, in the last 10 years. Of course, I don't know how widely this is known, But then, if let's say if it's a case of a terrorist, an insurgent, and things like those, technology has been used in terms of recording, even in terms of recording evidence, for example. So technology has been used. I think what the judicial system needs to do is see that going forward, this is sort of a blessing in disguise in the pandemic times. So going forward, how can we best leverage this blessing in disguise? Like somebody asked, can we look at old cases? Can they be heard over a period of time? I think if we look at it in a manner to say that where there are cases which require a physical presence of the lawyer, of the witness, of evidence, etc., those cases would be heard face to face. But whatever else can be done over a virtual medium, we can dispense with that. Many years back, I had an opportunity of handling a case in the US courts. And I was quite fascinated by the fact that in US, you could actually take directions, seek directions in a matter. For example, interrogatories, you want a direction from the judge. You could actually set up a phone conference with the judge and he would hear both the lawyers and he would pass an order. I was quite fascinated by it then, but I think these are some of the things which we should bring into our system going forward and see how best to leverage technology.
I'll just one sentence, Mr. Chakrabarti.
Sure.
So far, Bengal is concerned. You see, our district courts, Chief Judicial Magistrates courts, they have the video facility before the pandemic. They had it where the jail was connected with the this CJM's court. So an accused need not be physically produced. He could be produced through that video conference before the Chief Judicial Magistrate or the ACJM, Additional Chief Judicial Magistrate court for the necessary hearing of the bail application. So those were there. And we are now utilizing that existing technology. And of course, we are developing on it as we go by. And as technology comes our way, we are developing on it. And it's not a one-day kind of a solution or a fit-all solution for every panacea that affects the society. So we have to develop, modulate ourselves as we progress. It's a work in progress.
Sure. This webinar has been very informative, and we are really grateful to all the esteemed panelists. And we are thankful to the Lex Witness to give us the opportunity to have the discussion on the subject. So, can we conclude now?
Mr. Chakrabarti and Mr. Rajendra, we have a few questions in the Q&A box. We've been getting requests from people if some of the questions can be attended to. There are about 14 of them. If we can address a few questions, and then we can conclude the webinar.
Seen some of the questions, and from those questions, I have already put it before the Honorable Justice Basak, and His Lordship has already replied on the virtual courts regarding framing of rules, the new normal situations. Those are there in the questions which can be asked. And there are also some opinions that cannot be placed before the panelists.
Sure.
I think
Mr. Rajendra Misra, we have a question
there's a question for me.
You.
Yes. How far is machine translation of Supreme Court judgment accurate, and has any translated judgment been used in the lower courts? I think the answer to this would be that machine translation and utilization of technology can really be helpful to the profession and to the courts. In terms of the accuracy, I don't have a personal experience of that, but it is something that definitely needs to be looked into. What I think the point which I was making was that there are various means by which we can leverage technology. and also that a lot of it is probably not known to us. For example, speaking of myself, till this point of time, I was not aware in terms of the machine learning being used for the purpose of translating judgments, or for that matter that it's for the last 10 years that our judicial system has actually been using technology. And Justice Basak mentioned that in the state of West Bengal, technology is being used for the purpose of production of accused before the CJM. And not just in West Bengal, it is in other locations also that such technology is being used. But I think what is important is that I believe that the legal profession or the legal ecosystem as such has been slow in adopting to technology. To some extent, it did adopt technology, but there is a tremendous scope of actually utilizing that. And certain things have, which were, I remember that during the initial days when I was in Kolkata, it was a big thing that one of the sitting judges of the Calcutta High Court used to sit on the bench with a laptop, referring to his notes on the laptop, referring to judgments on the laptop, etc., etc. It was also many years back quite fascinating that a senior counsel of the Delhi High Court would have all his pleadings on an iPad, and without a scrap of paper, he would come to the court and appear before the bench and argue his matter completely without reference to a single piece of paper. And it used to be quite fascinating. But I think all of this need not necessarily be, one-offs. There is a tremendous scope. This pandemic has shown that there is a tremendous scope of adopting all of this for the benefit. Of course, being always cautious that if there is some scope of a problem, to avoid that. And I'm sure that our system is capable enough of dealing with that.
Okay.
Akshay, anything else which we can address?
That's about it, sir. I think most of the other aspects have been addressed too.
Fantastic.
Yes, that should be fine, sir.
Fantastic. Can I just take...
Abhijit, sir, anything else from your side as a conclusion?
Abhijit? No. Rajan, over to you.
Yeah, may I just take this opportunity to thank each one of you, people who are on the panel, as well as the participants for having taken out your time. As always, technology and law is a fascinating subject. And the silver lining from the pandemic has been how technology has come to the rescue of all of us. I just hope and pray that going forward, we will not fritter away this, if I may say, the hidden benefit that has come out of this pandemic, and the legal world really utilizes technology in a manner which will help dispense justice to the people and bring the judicial system and the people closer. That is what I hope for. And I hope that, whether it is the judiciary or whether it is the public sector enterprises or the private sector enterprises, really adapt to technology, use it, because I don't think we are going back to normal as we knew normal before. The new normal will be a very different normal. Certain things which we could have done in the past, we may never be able to do. And technology may actually come as a great boon and to our rescue. I'm happy that the judicial world has adopted technology, and I look forward to a time when we will make full utilization of this technology. Justice Basak, thank you very much for taking out your time. Learned AG, again, thank you very much. Mr. Vinit Kumar, thank you very much for your time. And Abhijit, thank you very much for anchoring this. and being the common thread amongst all of us. And last but not the least, Lex Witness, Akshay, Nilima, thank you, all of you. Fantastic. You have brought together this panel with different, people from different fields, connected in some manner to give to the audience and the participants a 360-degree view, if I may say so, in terms of how technology has been an enabler during these challenging times. So well done. Thank you very much.